Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Season 2, Episode 3 of Centaurworld. So yeah, this season has been pretty interesting so far. It started off maybe a little slow, but it's still been really good. It's continuing from where we left off, just still doing the recruiting and everything, getting things set up for the future. And I think that's a smart idea to get that done. First couple episodes, get that handled, and then go from there. So now we go into the next one, and I'm interested to see where we go. Now, I also have been told that this episode is a couple episodes shorter because the final episode is movie length. Not maybe not quite movie length, but it's over an hour long. So it's, I guess, kind of the equivalent of 3-4 episodes. If each episode is normally about 22 minutes or so, average length. It could be up to 3-4 episodes. So that's pretty wild that the final episode is that long. But that's going to be very exciting to lead up to. And there's going to be some really, really exciting shit going on in there if it's that long. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm enjoying what the season is doing so far, but we'll see where it goes next. So we're just going to get this started and hope for the best. Let's do it. When the screen fades black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this episode just makes it canon that Glendale is best girl, right? That was obvious for me. But this episode makes it just straight up canon. She saves the day in a way that's surprisingly genius, manipulative as fuck, which, yeah, that's fitting for her, and, genuinely super clever. And clever and genius are two different things, yes. But it's Glendale is not necessarily they're all kind of dumb in their own way, but they've also shown parts where they're all kind of smart too. Surprisingly so, most of the time. And Glendale really has just always been more of a comedic relief character in a lot of cases. She really hasn't had a time to shine as much in the same way. Don't get me wrong, she's had some great moments. It's the reason why she's my favorite character. She wouldn't be if she was just in the background all the time. Honestly, she's had a lot more moments to shine than, Ched. But, she's had, the entire buff prison look and everything. All kinds of great moments. Even in the season, even when they get to the horse tar place, and she's, taking the gems off the door and everything. It's just great moments like that that just make her really shine. But this episode really, really allowed her to shine. It really just hammered in how great of a character she is. And how fucking conniving she is. To come up with a plan like that, to manipulate these coal tars into not only giving up on their fealty towards the Nowhere King, but also to manipulate them into siding with them and basically worshipping her as this like motivational speaker goddess. And it's like, yes, just all of my yes. It shows a lot of genuine intellect. I almost kind of see it now that Glendale is like not dumb, but insane. And I mean this with love. I feel like Glendale is like actually legitimately crazy. I'm not saying that as in like just saying like, oh, she's so crazy. No, I'm saying like actual like legitimate insanity. I think that half of the time she's not fully in control of her actions. She's almost like she's insane. She had, I don't know how else to describe it. Like legitimately. But then it's like, if under the right circumstances or situations, I feel like Glendale's like true mind and intellect can come out, and we see that here. And it kind of makes her more interesting as a character, like just outside of the general entertainment, because obviously Glendale is fucking hilarious. Obviously she's adorable. Obviously she is just amazing. We know that. That's been the case since the beginning. But this actually gives her a little more depth and intrigue. And even if it's not the case that she's actually insane and everything, again, that's just my perspective on it from my viewing experience, what I believe her to be. And again, as I want to make clear, I'm not saying this in a negative fashion. It works for this series and makes sense. It fits. And it doesn't make her any less worthy or any less, great of a character. In fact, in a way, it kind of makes her better by showing that she at times can work past that and be a valuable member of the group. With her anxiety, her insanity, her kleptomania, it's like we see how she's basically a wreck a lot of the time. But then there's those moments where she is actually very valuable to the herd, and it really helps her feel like a real character. It gives her that depth and that intrigue and that, for lack of a better word, realism. It makes us able to connect to her. Those of us who may have anxiety and just mental health issues, we can see ourselves in her. And if not like insanity, I could see her maybe being autistic. I could very much see that in her. So in fact, maybe I'd even say that over the insanity. I just kind of go with insanity as kind of my first thought because, let's be honest, she's really uncontrollable half the time. But maybe it is more like a kind of view on autism in a way. And whether or not that's intentional by the writers and creators and everything is one thing, but it can very much be viewed that way. And again, it's despite no matter what's going on with her outside of just the kleptomania and anxiety, she's a valuable member of the herd. She's worth it. And we love her. And she's not the only one even going through a bunch of issues lately. Wamawink is having a massive, like, internal crisis about how she's viewed amongst the herd, and especially from Horse. How Horse looks at her, what Horse thinks of her. And she sees herself as Horse's best friend, but the question is, does Horse see her that way? And she never seemed the most entirely put together. So seeing her kind of panicking over this kind of idea, especially after last episode, with all the shit that went down with the bird tars, it's like, I feel really bad for her. Especially with all the awesome stuff we've seen her do and how much she's cared for characters like Horse and everything, especially in the whale tar episode last season. So it's like, these characters have their issues. They're not perfect, and that's always been the point. And I love shows that do this. Owl House does this amazingly. Amphibia does this. Characters who have issues, who aren't perfect, who make mistakes, face mental health problems, and even in some cases might be problematic. Characters like that who just feel like real people. Because in real life, we're not perfect. We're problematic. We have mental health issues. We are messed up and make mistakes. It's how humanity is. So we can see ourselves in characters like this, even if these are exaggerations. Like, we can see ourselves in this. And I've talked about it on the channel before, but I think one of the reasons why I like Glendale so much is because of that very reason, because I can see myself in her. Not just the anxiety and now thinking about it, the possible autism, but even the kleptomania. When I was younger, like a teenager and everything, in middle school and high school, I was I was a kleptomaniac. I stole a lot from stores, from friends, family, all kinds of things. And I'm not proud of it. I'm glad I've worked past that. I don't think I was ever, like, officially klepto. I don't think I had, like, any diagnosis or anything for that. And I don't know how easy it is to work past that kind of thing. So maybe I wasn't, like, fully a kleptomaniac in that, like, officially diagnosed regard. But, like, it was something that for a long time I could not control well. I stole all kinds of stuff. I stole literally checks out of my mother's checkbook, faked a signature just to get hot lunch at school. I am not even kidding you. It got that bad. I stole cigarettes from my mom just to try them. And by the way, I did that once and will never do it again because, God, those were the nastiest thing I've ever put in my mouth. I stole trading cards and toys and video games and stuff from stores. I stole stuff from legitimately friends of mine. And I feel horrible about it. I feel absolutely horrible about it. And that's a good thing, I feel. Because I should feel bad about doing bad things like that. And so when I see Glendale's kleptomania, like, yeah, it's funny, it's goofy, and she doesn't necessarily feel bad about it or anything, but I kind of see that imperfection that I used to have. That problem that I've been able to grow from, and it makes me feel good just by thinking about how I have been able to work past it. Even though Glendale herself hasn't, it makes me think of my own situation and how I've bettered myself and am no longer like that. It's, again, one of the biggest reasons I love her character. Not the only one by any means, but one of the reasons. Because it makes me feel better about myself, in a way. But also, just in general, Glendale is just entertaining. She's fun. She's funny. She's, despite the possible insanity, possible autism, despite the anxiety, despite the kleptomania, she's still likable. She's very likable. And I'm not saying that people with anxiety and other mental health issues and stuff aren't likable. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking more of the kleptomania and stuff, but you get what I'm saying. She's super likable, and it's just, I can't view her in any other way than as the best character in this for me, with Wamawink as a close second. I love Glendale so much. She's just, she's entirely my kind of character, I guess you could say. And it's like, in the episode, Comfortable Doug, called her, what was it again, reindeer wife? And it's like, she's not a reindeer, she's a Gerantok. Or Gerantok, or however you pronounce it. But again, it's like an antelope. They have really long necks, hence her long neck in the series and everything. But yeah, it's more closely related to an antelope than a reindeer. She's not a reindeer at all. But I kind of found that funny. It's like one of the few Comfortable Doug things I found funny. Because it's like just the term of calling her a wife, and you know, the fandom common term of waifu and everything. It's just like, you know, ever since the episode that introduced Comfortable Doug and also showed us, you know, buff Glendale, I had joked in that I had been like, is this show making me feel things for Glendale? Is this show making me attracted to her? And I kind of think it did. Like, just completely seriously, I think it did. And it's not just because of her being buff at that moment, or even fan art I've seen of like her like blowing into her thumb like Luffy from One Piece and making her like muscles pop out like that, which is, for some reason I cannot explain, but for some reason it's really hot to me. But not even because of that stuff. It's like something about her character clicked for me in that episode, I feel. Like, I already loved her before that and everything. I would even say she was already my favorite character before that. But something about her in that episode just really clicked for me. And again, not just because of the buffness, although that obviously helps. It's just the way her character was portrayed, the goofiness, the almost lawless attitude and everything. Like, even at the end when you see, like, they all get to the top, but she's not there, and then you see her burrow her way up with, like, a spoon, and it's like, I kind of love you right now. But, like, even her song and everything in the episode, it's just like, she was just great in that episode. And it's like, again, I kind of joked about it, but I think that it's true that I kind of got attracted to her there. And it's weird to think about. And it's funny enough, I was just recently just asked on Discord if I would do a Smasher Pass for Centaurworld, which I was not expecting as a question. But I'm kind of thinking about it. Because why not? I mean, it's no different than doing a Smasher Pass thing for, like, MLP or anything like that. So maybe I'll do that at some point in the future. Granted, I'm recording this ahead of time, so I might have already done it by the time you see this. So, it's just, I'm thinking about it now, so... But yeah, it's like, it's an interesting thought. But let's actually talk about the episode, because this entire time I've just been talking about my love for Glendale. I have spent almost 20 minutes now, according to my recording timer, talking about nothing but Glendale and my love for her and why I love her so much and why she's my favorite character and everything. And I'm glad I have. I love talking about her, but at the same time, it's like, let's actually mention what happened in this episode. So this kind of continues off of where the last episode started. At the start of the last episode, they were about to ask the Cold Tars to help them, but then the Bird Tars abducted them. And so now, after the Bird Tar detour, they're back to the Cold Tars. And the Cold Tars, because they're cold, decide to side with the Nowhere King. Because he's a king. He has to have money. He can get them coats. And they can't move elsewhere because then they'd be too hot. And it's like, I'm kind of with Horse on this one. It's like, what? What is your logic? Move to somewhere with a more just median climate. You don't have to move somewhere super hot. I'm sure there's plenty of places around Centaurworld where the climate is just pretty median, where you won't be too hot or too cold. It's very probable. So it's like, I don't understand. I genuinely don't. But either way, that's what they've decided to do, and so our heroes have to flee. They run away, and in order to not be chased, they decide to break the ice in two, cutting off the Arctic lands of the Cold Tars from the rest of Centaurworld. Which, I understand why they did it, but if you really think about that, it's kind of fucked up. Like, if you really think about that, that's really kind of fucked up. They're closing off the Cold Tars from the rest of Centaurworld. They are basically isolating them to their own, like, small patch of ice in this in this situation, and basically telling them to make do. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of fucking Ruby and the Faunus just put on Menagerie and told to make do. And yes, there's Faunus all around the rest of Remnant, but nonetheless, that's what the Faunus were given as kind of like a just live with it situation. And that's kind of what this feels like to me. They're being forced into a terrible situation that they clearly don't really want to be in. They're being forced into it against their will and being isolated from the rest of the world. And it's just like, that's really fucked up. Like, even if they're siding with the Nowhere King, it's very clear that they don't really want to do that. They're only doing it because they feel they need to. It's like, Jesus. And then Comfortable Doug shows up out of nowhere because he does that. And he's like, oh, hey, look, your reindeer wife, she's on the other side of the ice. And that caught me entirely off guard by calling her that, as you may have noticed. But yeah, they start to argue about what to do. Wama Wink's barely paying attention because she's so anxious about everything and having a snow cone, apparently. And apparently she takes her snow cone time seriously. Whatevs. I mean, I like snow cones, but okay. And you can see during this scene that Wama Wink, like I said before, is very, very not okay. She's dealing with a lot of personal shit that was brought on by the Bird Tars and their horrible mistreatment of her, to where she's just really anxious about how Horse and the others view her. So she's not in the best position. She's very much emotionally compromised. But Horse ends up trying to jump over the crack, which has, increased because the the ice is floating away from each other. The two pieces of ice are floating away from each other and all. And she falls in and is frozen in a block of ice. Durpleton breaks her out after they sail across the water on her by doing this Durple drop. Basically, he stretches his neck up really far, drops her, and the ice breaks, and she falls into the snow and everything, and she's free. I don't know how she survived, but considering how far up we saw him go, but whatevs. I mean, Centaurworld logic, you know? They go back, they find Glendale, who had been taken by the Cold Tars, and she's made friends with them. And it's soon revealed that she's not only made friends with them, she's become a motivational speaker for them. And I compared her look to Steve Jobs, just with the turtleneck and everything, but that's very much not what the reference seems to be, because Steve Jobs wasn't really a motivational speaker. He did speaking, but as like a presentation for the products. This is more akin to, I don't know, who would be a motivational speaker? Is Tony Robbins a motivational speaker? I think he is. I know the name more than I know the person, but I think that would be an example. But like you remember, like in high school or whatever, if your high school did this, all of the ones I went to 4 different high schools, and every single one of them did this. They would bring in a motivational speaker to talk to the students during an assembly. Every single high school I went to did this. And it was so fucking annoying. I hated it. Because at least the motivational speakers that we got at our schools were so fucking condescending and just really shitty. Like, I don't understand how anyone could like that. Like, the way they were speaking down to us and acting as if we were, like, terrible and in need of being fixed. And I hate that. I hate when anybody speaks to not just a kid, but anyone like that. But Glendale instead is using this to manipulate them. And apparently she has a book. When did she write that? I mean, I want a copy. Give me a copy, please. I'll read the shit out of that. Especially if it's autographed. That should be made. They should sell that. Like, go on Etsy and buy, like, an autographed copy. Even if it's just, like, a book cover. Just, like, a mock book cover that you could just put over something else just for the fun of it. That would be fucking awesome. Someone needs to do that. If I knew how, I would possibly do that myself, but I have no idea how to get that done. But, like, someone could, like, make a signature for her and everything to put on there. That would be so good. Actually, we might have seen her signature already in the last episode, right? Because they were signing stuff at, quote-unquote, HerdCon, weren't they? Oh my gosh. This is a brilliant idea. Someone take this up. Please do this. Anyway. I'm getting very distracted by this, but, Anywho. Where was I going with this? Shit, where was I? Oh yeah. I got distracted. So she manipulates them into joining their side by basically making them worship her. Like, they're saying, like, instead of all hail the Nowhere King now, they're saying all hail Glendale. And it's like, you know what? I normally am against cults, but you can sign me up for this one. I have just become a Glendale simp. Just, yeah, sounds about right for me. But Glendale then sheds her sweater, her turtleneck, which the Cold Tars fight over, which is hilarious. There's a lot of commentary to that. And goes back to her normal ways and everything. And it's like, oh. And so they leave. Stabby also had a good joke during this episode. where it's like they're all yelling like all hail the Nowhere King. This is early on in the episode, and Stabby yells it too, and then Durpleton's like a disappointed father to him, and it's like, Stabbleton, it's like, go to your room, and Stabby very sadly just like yeets himself into Glendale's portal tummy, and it is genuinely really funny. Like, thinking about it again after it happened and everything, it's like it actually got funnier for me, just the way it was handled. It was really good. I'm really loving Stabby. Like, Stabby is great. But during all of this, there was also a small B plot of Water Baby. Her name was escaping me for some reason. Of Water Baby. We find out she's not dead. Yay! I was actually concerned there for a second that they killed her off. No, she's just in prison. She's in prison, but she does have her rutabagas, and so she sends one out to try and, take out the guards. Does not work. It starts singing and then gets murdered by the guard. So she's going to try again, but Comfortable Doug comes in because he was sent to go check on her and everything. Or no, he wasn't sent to go check on her. I'm thinking of what I'm going to talk about in a second. He went there on his own after leaving the herd, because apparently he vacations here now, I guess. I mean, I guess the portal's open, so why not? But he says it's his timeshare and all, visiting jails in this world and shit. But he agrees to work with Water Baby to get out of there. And so, with, like, the rutabagas and everything, like, one of the Minotaur guards ends up being killed by the other accidentally, while the one that does the accidental killing is knocked out. And Doug is like, okay, we gotta kill this other guy too. Now that one of them's dead, it has to be a double homicide. This is just how it works. You can't leave the other one alive. It has to be both. And it's just like, Jesus. What? Why? But I guess apparently Water Baby's going to escape and everything, like, and she told Doug, okay, go to Ryder and give her the message about what's happening here. And he does so. He is sent to Ryder. He tells her what's happening with the Nowhere King creating these, like, super Minotaurs. And so she has that information now. But the best part of the episode is definitely, without doubt, Becky Apples kicking the shit out of Comfortable Doug and sending him flying. Because we all want to do that, and yeah, Becky Apples is now my hero. So, that's the episode. It was absolutely wonderful. I really enjoyed this episode. Like, I really fucking enjoyed this. Glendale's a queen. I love the shit out of her. Like, yeah, it's not a question that she's my favorite character. Especially with this episode, just really nailing that in better than ever. Wamawink, like, is continuing to have, like, a little bit of a breakdown, and I actually like that because it's good for her character and everything. We got to see what's going on in Rider and Horse's world. I'm not going to say the human world, because that sounds weird and everything for this series. So I'm just going to say Rider and Horse's world for now. We got some new allies with the Cold Tars. And one of them is apparently a killer whale, an orca. So it's like, yeah, that might be helpful, because if you know anything about orcas in real life, those things are fucking terrifying. Like, you think of orcas, you think of killer whales, you think of SeaWorld, you think of Shamu and stuff. But it's like, orcas are fucking horrifying. They are violent. They are exceptionally dangerous. They eat fucking sharks. Killer whales are fucking scary as hell. So having one of those on their side, ooh, that's nice. That's a good ally. I don't know if anything's gonna come of that, but that would be amazing if, like, in like the final war or fight that's gonna happen, if we see the killer whale tar, the orca tar, just violently murder a minotaur, like, really horrifically. It's like, that would be amazing. It's probably not gonna happen, but it would be amazing. Again, orcas are absolutely terrifying. They're one of those animals that you just don't realize and don't think about how scary they are, along with the likes of hippos. Hippos are absolutely terrifying in real life, too. They're cute as fuck. They are absolutely adorable as a button, but they are also terrifying. Hippos are very deadly, and so are orcas. So, yeah. Just a little fun fact for y'all. But yeah, so nothing more to say, but all hail Glendale. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Centaurworld Season 2. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.